Hey, it's Maggie. I am a high school English teacher in North Carolina where I teach 10th and 12th graders currently, and I'm here to talk to you about something very important, and it's my classroom management strategy for that one child that drives you crazy, that maybe drives your class crazy, distracts everybody, annoys everybody, talks too much, walks around, bugs you, whatever the issue is. I'm going to give you a step-by-step plan for what you can do to hopefully fix the situation and then give you some examples. So here we go. So the first thing that I want to tell you is you just need to understand that you are going to have at least one kid in every single class that does something to bother you or your students or your teaching. Remain calm, breathe, and we're going to figure this out together. My number one is you need to examine when the behavior is happening and then try to notice any patterns. Is it happening during the warm-up, during the bell ringer at the beginning of class? Is it happening the last 10 or 15 minutes of class when kids are starting to pack up? Is it happening during announcements? Is it happening when the student goes to the bathroom? Is it happening while you're taking a test or a quiz or doing something silent? Does it happen during group work? Just really try to take notes on the behavior and genuinely, you can write stuff down. So take some notes and say, are there any patterns? Is there anything that I notice here? So then step 2, you need to analyze and brainstorm what are some of the reasons why this behavior is happening. Now, I would say this is something you've probably already been trying to do, but I mean, take the notes, really think about it, and then later, when you have time, really try to say, okay, why is this child doing this? What purpose does this serve? What are they getting out of this behavior? And I would also say take a look at what your reactions are every time this student does the thing, or what are the other students' reactions, because if the student does something and then everybody laughs, that's something to notice. If the students do something and then you yell, then that's a reaction. So you need to take all those things into account. So I mean, really take some time and brainstorm and think about why you think this is happening. So number 3 is going to be your what. And this is really, what are you going to do about it? So develop an action plan to correct the behavior. You really need to sit down again when you have time and say, what am I going to do when the child does this behavior? It may be a simple solution. It may be a complex solution, but you need to decide, what am I going to do? What is going to be the plan? And by plan, I mean there also needs to be a consequence. So what am I going to do? How many times am I going to let them do it before there's a consequence? What is the consequence going to be? And this, I think, works from kindergarten, preschool, all the way up to my seniors in high school. You need to have a plan. So now you're going to put the plan in action. I think the important piece of this is you need to modify that plan as needed. Because as we know, sometimes a child will do a certain behavior to get a certain reaction, and then if they don't get that reaction anymore and they know there's now a consequence, they may start doing a different behavior. So you modify this plan as often as you need to, but I would say you need to give it at least a week to really put it into effect. You can't just do it for one day and then just be like, nope, that's not going to work. It's going to take some time. So let it work for a little bit and then you can decide. I'm going to tell you something that's probably not going to make you feel good, but this is just the truth. This is me just being honest with you. You need to remember that you as the teacher need to be a part of the action plan. So when I say, like, what are you going to do? Like, genuinely, what are you as the teacher going to do to fix this? And you also need to remember that you as the teacher may have to change the way you do something in order to actually fix it. And you need to be willing to do that. You need to be willing to do that change or make that change. I made a list of what I think are the top 3 children that you may have in your class that you are having this behavior problem with. And so I'm going to talk about what are some solutions maybe for those specific children, those 3 in general. And then I'm going to give you a system that I think could work with all 3 of them. So here we go. The first one is the mover. So this is why I said you as the teacher may have to be a little bit more proactive in this. So I would say if you have a child who's the mover, I would say the number one thing is you need to give them more opportunities to move. A lot of times the mover is bored sitting in the desk for the whole class period, which for high school, like for us, is almost 90 minutes of sitting in the desk. So try to do more things in your classroom where they can get up and move around. So maybe more group work, maybe things like question trails or escape rooms where they have to actually get up and move around the room, or stations or something like that. And see if that helps some with the energy that they seem to have and the need to move. You also can move their seats. So if you had a child who was constantly needing to get up to go to the supplies or the pencil sharpener or the Kleenex or whatever, then I would say move their desk right beside the thing that they always say they need to get up and get. Because then you're going to lessen the chance of them getting up and actually having a reason to get up. And then another solution I would have is give that student a job. So if I have a student who I can tell is very antsy and likes to move a lot, or maybe has ADHD or something like that, then I will let them pass out papers. I'll let them take up papers. I'll say, oh, can you go take this to so-and-so? Give them jobs. Because it's going to make them feel important and that you trust them. And then also, you're getting some of that energy out. The second child is the talker. I thought about naming this child the interrupter instead of the talker. My solution for the talker is give them more opportunities to talk. And you may say, okay, well, that's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? I would just say, if they're the talker, if you don't have a lot of class discussions and things, like, and you don't have students blurt out, I would always call on them. Call on them. Let them talk. You also can move their seats. So I'm sure you've already tried moving their seat probably at first, but I've also had students who had to sit by themselves. I've also had a student who would talk and talk and talk, and I said, hey, I'm just going to be honest with you. You know, you're talking a lot. Is there one person that I can put you with that you can talk to just them instead of blurting out in front of the whole class? And they've been like, oh yeah, so-and-so. And I set the 2 of them together, and that helped solve the problem. So maybe you need to sit them closer to you and your desk or your table. I think the number one thing is just giving them more opportunities to talk and voice their opinion because they have a lot to say. The third one is my favorite, and this is the jokester. So this is your class clown. I would say for the jokester, you need to give them more positive attention. So whenever you see them doing something really good, make sure that you let them know that. If they're doing something awesome, tell them and brag on them. Also, if you can give them more opportunities to be funny and be a class clown, let them. We're reading Shakespeare right now, and I let all of my class clowns of giant personalities in one class read out loud because they're hilarious and the class pays attention to them, and they can be silly and we can still get stuff done. And then they act fine the rest of class because they've talked the whole class period reading the story to us and being silly. I would also say the jokester is another one who could really do with having a job. So giving them a job. I've sometimes had my jokester be the person that leads the warm-up or the bell ringer at the beginning of class. That's a good job for them. If you do class discussions, they could be in charge of the class discussion. The people will probably pay attention to them really well. if they're already the class clown and they think they're funny. Other tips are just, as much as you can involve the child in this process, I would conference with them. I would try to build a relationship with them. But just know that sometimes you're not going to be able to come up with a perfect solution, and you're not going to be that child's best friend. Also, if you have not talked to the parent, I would suggest you maybe talk to the parent, and also any other teachers or administrators at your school that also deal with that student. They may be having the same problems, and they may be able to share some advice or a tip with you about that student specifically, or teachers from the past. Use all of your resources when it comes to these students. I think the main thing with these students is they need attention for whatever reason, and they're willing to get that through bad attention. So just giving them more attention in general, a lot of times I find will help. Also try to diffuse any situation I can with humor. If the student is going around poking people, I may say something like, "Go sit down and quit bothering everybody. Nobody wants you walking around poking them." And then the whole class will laugh and the student will laugh, and they've done something that they think is bad and they're the jokester, but really it's me being the funny one, but they think the attention is on them, and then they'll go sit down. So try everything in your teacher resources that you have, and let me know which one of the three bothers you the most. Is it the mover, is it the talker, or is it the jokester? Let me know. Or maybe you have a fourth one that I didn't mention that bothers you more. So tell me down in the comments about that. Do you like my solution? Give me a like, and I hope you subscribe so you can see some more awesome classroom management tips coming up soon. Bye!